everybody? JT Dangerous here once again. I am back for my Week 2 college football predictions. Now, with Week 1 in the books, we are now into Week 2 of the college football season. So I'm very excited to do these Week 2 predictions for you guys, and I hope you guys do enjoy. Now, our record coming in after a very good Week 1, we went 7-3. So we're starting off on a good note with a winning record. We're on a 1-week winning streak. Hopefully in this video, we'll make it 2. Now, if you have not watched my Week 1 NFL predictions video yet, definitely go check that out. This is the second video of the day, so hopefully you guys will show your love on both these huge videos. As always, show your support by watching the video, super kicking that like button, and hitting that notification bell, and commenting your picks, your opinions, and representing your team in the comment sections down below. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel as a first-time viewer, this is your first video, boy, you picked a good one if you're a huge college football fan like myself and you're ready for Week 2 of the college football season. Welcome to the Dangerous Lions. I am JT Dangerously. Welcome to the club, because this club is just two. Whoop, whoop. Again, thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into these predictions. Starting off with the first matchup, it is an SEC East rivalry showdown featuring the Georgia Bulldogs heading to Gamecocks country to face the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, this is the 71st meeting between the Gamecocks and the Bulldogs. Georgia leads the old-time series 50-18-2, and Georgia's been on a 3-year winning streak against South Carolina, and South Carolina hasn't beaten the Bulldogs since 2014. So they're looking to end their 4-year drought against Georgia. Now, both teams are coming in wins in Week 1, and this game is very big because whoever wins this will be in the driver's seat in the SEC East. Now, Georgia's coming off an amazing year last year with Jake Fromm, and Kirby Smart had an amazing first year there, and they're looking to relive that magic that they had last year and finally win a national championship. Then on the other side, you have South Carolina coming off a very good year last year, and they're looking to be a contender in a very stacked SEC East. So coming from me in this first SEC rivalry showdown, I'm going to go with Jake Fromm from State Farm and the Georgia Bulldogs to defeat the South Carolina Gamecocks. And now the next matchup. It is the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy between the Iowa State Cyclones heading to Iowa City to face the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, this is the 66th meeting between the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes. Iowa leads the series 43-22. Iowa's won the last 3 meetings against the Cyclones, and the Cyclones are looking to win for the first time in 4 years. Now, both teams are coming off a very interesting Week 1. Iowa State's game was canceled, so this is practically their first game of the season, and honestly, Week 1's game would have been it was a cupcake game, let's be honest. So this is a good way to start the Iowa State Cyclone season by facing their rivals, and Iowa's coming off a big win in Week 1. Now, Iowa State's coming off an amazing year last year, let's be honest. Last year surprised a lot of people by knocking off Oklahoma, giving TCU a run for their money, but this year they want to look to prove that last year was not just a miracle run. They're going to prove that they are a legit team in the Big 12 Conference. Then on the other side, you have the Iowa Hawkeyes coming off maybe their best year in a long time. I mean, they went 8-4. They were a very tough team to play at home in Iowa City, and they were a top contender in the Big East West division with teams like Nebraska and Minnesota and Wisconsin. But Iowa definitely needs to prove that last year was great. This year is going to be a lot better. So coming from me in this battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy, knowing one of my subscribers, the College Football Dojo, who is a huge Iowa Hawkeyes fan, I know he's going to be picking the Hawkeyes to win this matchup. So coming from me, being he is my rival, I'm going to go with the Iowa State Cyclones to defeat the Iowa Hawkeyes. And now the next matchup, a matchup that will be at College Game Day this week, featuring the Clemson Tigers heading to College Station to face the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, both teams are coming off wins in Week 1 and looking to start the season off on a good note. Now, Clemson is coming off defeating Furham, cupcake team, but Dabo Swinney has got this team on the moving. They're getting it done. They're looking to once again win the ACC. And I think this year is going to be tricky for them because, again, yes, Kelly Bryant did play in that game, but their backup quarterback got it done for most of the part because, again, it is a cupcake game, always a lot in Week 1. The only other side, you have the Texas A&M Aggies coming off very rough year last year, and they have changed a lot for that school. I mean, They got Jimbo Fisher, the former Florida State Seminole, as their head coach, and this is his biggest test in his first year at College Station, because if he can get a big win over Dabo Swinney and the former national champions, that would definitely be a big win on his first year resume at Texas A&M. So coming from me in this matchup, ooh man, this one's tough. This one's going to be a tricky pick. I definitely think Corso's going to have a tough one with headgear. So I'm going to go, hopefully Corso and me will be right, I'm going to go with the Clemson Tigers to defeat the Texas A&M Aggies in a close matchup. And now the next matchup, it is another SEC East rivalry featuring the Kentucky Wildcats heading to the Swamp to face the Florida Gators. Now, this rivalry is as mismatched as I've ever seen in this conference. Now, if you don't know, Florida has beaten Kentucky 31 straight times since 1986. The Kentucky Wildcats haven't beaten the Gators since 1986. Think about that. One team has beaten another team 31 straight times in a span of 20 plus years. Now, Kentucky is coming off a very rough season last year. Even though they went 7-6, that loss last year to Florida definitely hurt them, and they were so close. And I mean, they were inches away from winning and ending this long losing streak against Florida. But just a flag late definitely cost them. And Jack Del Rio's son nearly brought the Wildcats back in that game. But I think Kentucky's going to have another good year. I think they're going to have a pretty, don't be surprised they'd be a threat in any game in the SEC this year. The only other side of the Florida Gators coming off their worst year last year. I mean, they were maybe the one of two teams in Florida that had a worse year last year. Same with Florida State. Florida State and Florida had their worst years last year. And this year's Florida Gators team is very different because they added Dan Mullen, the former Mississippi State Bulldogs coach, as their head coach. And you already know, first-year coaches at a very, very, very big-time school like Florida, that fan support is big and wins are very important. Because if you don't win early and you don't win those big-time rivalry games, that crowd will bury you till you're done. So, coming from me in this SEC East rivalry showdown, ooh, man, this one's tough. Can the Gators make it 32 straight against the Kentucky Wildcats, or will Kentucky end their Florida's 31-game winning streak against them? I'm going to go with the Florida Gators to defeat the Kentucky Wildcats in a close matchup. Chomp, chomp. And now the next matchup, it is known as the Keystone Classic, featuring the Penn State Nittany Lions heading to Heinz Field to face the Pittsburgh Panthers. Now, this is the 99th meeting, nearly a century-built rivalry between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Pitt Panthers. Penn State leads the all-time series 51-43-4. Now, Penn State won the last meeting last year, and Pittsburgh's looking to beat Penn State for the first time in 2 years. Now, both these teams are coming off big wins in Week 1, but the biggest scare came from Penn State in Week 1 when they nearly lost to Appalachian State in Happy Valley, which a lot of people did not see that coming, that they would actually have trouble against Appalachian State. Now, we've seen Appalachian State beat Michigan in the Big House, so Appalachian State gave Penn State a fight, and a lot of people did not expect that. But Penn State barely got out of Happy Valley with that win on Saturday. So they're looking to rebound in the biggest way possible against their rivals, the Pitt Panthers. Now, Pittsburgh last year was not a great team, but they got a huge win over Miami and cost Miami everything. The ACC title and a shot to be in the college football Final Four. So Pittsburgh knows how to win and beat big-time teams when it matters. So, coming from me in this installment of the Keystone Classic, ooh, man, this one's tough. Pittsburgh's defense definitely stepped up against Miami. That's the biggest thing. Pittsburgh's defense against Trevor McSorley's high-speed offense, and definitely McSorley's going to be right up there in the Heisman race. So, coming from me, I am taking the Penn State Nittany Lions to defeat a very good Pittsburgh Panthers team. We are Penn State. And now the next matchup, it is a Pac-12 rivalry battle featuring the USC Trojans heading to Stanford to face the Stanford Cardinals. Now this is the 98 meeting between the Trojans and the Cardinals. USC leads the all-time series 61-32-3. Now USC has won the last 2 meetings, and Stanford is looking to beat USC for the first time in 2 years. Now this rivalry has seen some of the great moments. I mean, Andrew Luck versus Sam Darnold, some of the great USC quarterbacks. It's Pete Carroll versus Kevin Sumlin. Just some of the greatest rivalries are come out of this Pac-12 rivalry between SC and Stanford. Now, so coming from me, both teams are coming off wins in week 1, of course. So coming from me in this matchup, I am taking. I'm going to take the USC Trojans to defeat the Stanford Cardinals. And now the next matchup, a really interesting matchup between the Michigan State Spartans heading to Arizona State to face the Arizona State Sun Devils. Now, both teams are coming off wins in week 1, but this is the big game for Arizona State new head coach Herm Edwards. Now, if you don't know who Herm Edwards is, he is the one who coached the Jets and the Chiefs and had the old coinage of you play to win the game. And this is Herm Edwards' biggest game in his first year at Arizona State. I think this is his toughest test because Sparty's defense has always been consistently good from year after year and after year, and Michigan State is always in the race for the Big Ten titles. So, coming from me in this very interesting matchup, I'm going to go with the Michigan State Spartans to defeat a very good Arizona State Sun Devils team in a close matchup. And now the next matchup, it is between the Colorado Buffaloes heading to Lincoln to face the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, both teams are coming off very interesting week 1s. Buffalo's coming in after a win on Saturday, and Nebraska's game against Akron was postponed. So this is practically Nebraska's first game of the season. Now, Nebraska is coming in with a lot of hype, being that they got Scott Frost away from Central Florida. Now, a lot of people remember Nebraska being a very amazing team in the 90s, in the 2000s. But since then, they have not been that team, and they've been declining every year in the Big Ten. And finally, they made a huge move by getting Scott Frost, and I think Nebraska is going to be the team to watch in the Big Ten. I really do believe that, because Nebraska fan base definitely has been waiting a long time for Nebraska to be back in that, back in the people's back in the television spotlight like they used to be in the 90s when Tom Osborne was coaching them. And with Scott Frost there, look what he did at Central Florida, folks. He got a team he made a team a 13-0 perfect season last year at Central Florida. So I got really good high hopes that Scott Frost will definitely bring Nebraska back to prominence. So coming from me in this matchup, I mean, these are 2 former national championship teams in the 90s with Nebraska and Colorado, so this one's going to be a good one. But I'm going to go with Scott Frost and the Nebraska Cornhuskers to defeat the Colorado Buffaloes. And now the next matchup, it is the Western Michigan Broncos heading to the Big House to face the Michigan Wolverines. Now, both teams are coming in with an 0-1 record, but the biggest 0-1 record coming in is Michigan. Their loss on Saturday against Notre Dame dug the hole for Jim Harbaugh even deeper, because when you thought Jim Harbaugh needed to win this game and you had a chance to win but he falls short, that hot seat got even hotter for Jim Harbaugh, because if you couldn't even beat Notre Dame on the road, a top team, how much of a chance do you have against Michigan State, who Jim Harbaugh does not have a winning record against? What chance do you have against Ohio State, which Jim Harbaugh doesn't have a winning record against? So, and I know that Michigan fan base, they expect to win every big-time game, and Jim Harbaugh really hasn't proven that he can win the big game. And if they go into this game and they lose and they're 0-2, I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh is going to be done in Ann Arbor for sure, the khakis and all. So, coming from me in this matchup, oh man, this one's tough. Could Michigan go 0-2 to start the season this year? I mean, man, wouldn't that be crazy? But it can definitely happen. College football is all about unpredictability. So, coming from me, I'm going to go with the Michigan Wolverines to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Western Michigan Broncos. And now the final matchup in Week 2, pitting the Duke Blue Devils heading to Northwestern to face the Northwestern Wildcats. Now both teams are coming in 1-0, and they're looking to start the season a perfect 2-0. Now, Northwestern last year, what a year they had last year. Maybe their best year in years, having 10-plus wins, making it to a bowl game. And they're looking to prove that last year was no fluke. Last year was just, hey, hard work pays off. And this year they're looking to be a threat in the Big Ten, especially in that division where you got Wisconsin, you got Ohio State, you got Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, Minnesota. Northwestern is definitely going to be a team to look out for in the Big Ten this year. So, coming from me in the final matchup of Week 2, I'm going to take the Northwestern Wildcats to defeat the Duke Blue Devils. And those are my Week 2 college football predictions. I want to thank you guys so very much for watching. Comment below, who do you have winning in Week 2? Let me know who you got in the picks. And as always, represent your team in the comment section. If you're a college football fan, let me know in the comment section who's your team. Who do you represent every Saturday like I do with Oklahoma and Boise State? Let's have a conversation about it. Of course, I'm always on to see your comment, like it, and of course reply right back to you because comments are absolutely always welcome on this channel. Now, I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video today. Now, before you guys go, you guys can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with friends. Of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you can never forget to do this as well. That subscribe button to become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance. And I will see you guys next week for 5 big videos. Later days, guys, and peace.